Richard Blue was born in Dayton, Ohio in 1842 and came to McLean County at the age of 9 with the white family household of Judge James Rayburn. Blue married Emily, also known as Letitia Cooper, in Bloomington in 1870. The couple had 3 children who survived to adulthood, 2 daughters, Belle and Ludi, and a son, James. Blue had been a farm laborer, had a successful barbershop and hairdressing business, and served as a janitor or as an assistant doorkeeper for 20 years off and on in the House of Representatives in Springfield, Illinois. Most of his life he lived at 306 South Madison Street, where a set of duplexes south of Grossinger Motors Arena is located today. 2 years after black men were allowed to serve in the Army, Blue enlisted on February 3, 1865, and served for 9 months. 39 black men from McLean County served in the Union Army. However, they endured prejudice, disparities in pay, and were disproportionately assigned less than desirable duties, such as digging latrines or clearing roads. Post-Civil War, black communities in the North developed literary societies as pathways to knowledge and a free exchange of ideas, and to partly combat racism and oppression. Blue served as president for the first meeting of the Bloomington Literary and Protective Society. Members typically discussed literary text and read essays and addresses at the meeting. In 1879, Blue was nominated as a candidate for alderman representing the 3rd Ward, which at that time had the largest number of black voters living there, for Bloomington. Unfortunately, even though his active campaign was well received and he was a well-respected citizen among both black and white residents, he lost to the Democratic incumbent, William W. Stevenson. One would find Mr. Blue an enthusiastic member or leader of any local black club or alliance, including Republican organizations, county and city delegations, literary societies, and committees to commemorate holidays or to celebrate the passage of the 15th Amendment. Now let's meet Richard Blue and hear how he worked hard to make sure members of the black community were afforded equal rights, a better education, and the economic and political power they were entitled to.
This is peaceful. I used to think I wanted to be in a place of quiet, free from war and strife, but now I miss my busy life, and the work I've done on earth seems to have done the world a good. I even lost a shoe once. Attempting to run for alderman in Bloomington's 3rd Ward. But that's a story for later. How about we get started on the right foot? I am Richard Blue, and I first stepped foot into this world in Dayton, Ohio in 1842. I was originally brought to this area as a 9-year-old by one of McLean County's first prominent settlers, Judge James Rayburn. I grew up surrounded by the influences of this area, but at age 24, I enlisted in the 29th U.S. Colored Infantry. Now, I know that in the current time, we don't use that expression, colored, but that's what we were called back then. And believe me, it was much better than some of the slurs that folks shouted out at us. When I enlisted in Company A in February 1865, I was originally made a private. However, due to a foot injury I obtained while chopping wood earlier in my life, I was assigned musician duty. Oh, but I still served. Attention! Hey, still got it. President Abraham Lincoln had announced the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, and off we went to fight for those freedoms. Okay, I don't know how much you actually know about the Civil War, but the 29th Infantry traveled all over the Eastern Theater of the war. We were even there at the final Appomattox campaign. When the war ended in 1865, at ease, we were sent to Galveston, Texas for garrison duty. The 29th Colored Infantry was present when General Gordon Granger read General Order Number 3, emancipating the last of the transatlantic slaves from the last of the Union and Confederate states in Texas on June 19th. That's right. Some American slaves had not received the news that they had been freed in 1863, 2 years earlier because their owners willfully ignored the proclamation. Just like September 11th, let the world never forget the end of the inhumane actions of the transatlantic slave trade each June as Juneteenth. President Lincoln said regarding the colored infantry, without the military help of black freedmen, the war against the South could not have been won. And after the war, there was more work to be done. We gathered and demanded equal rights, better education, economic and political power, and sought the end of the black codes, which segregated us and limited our freedoms. I mean, put your feet in our shoes. Continuing to hit the ground running, I became part of the Colored State League and spent many years organizing meetings for colored voters at multiple churches, namely Wayman A&E. You see, by continuing to talk at these conventions, we became our own source of empowerment, forcing change from the legislature of the Union and proving our loyalty to the government. Yes, we were there meeting to figure out policies that would best suit our interests, our God-given rights as American citizens. We needed equal rights at the ballot box and in the courts. One of the most important rights came with the ratification of the 15th Amendment in 1870, which stated that every man 21 years of age and older, without regard to color or condition of servitude, would receive his equal voting rights. The community came together at Schrader's Opera Hall to express appreciation and appropriate thanks. Finally, we could vote. Our battles on the fields of war brought us this freedom. I spent many years organizing ratification rallies to remember this important historical achievement through speeches and music. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth keeps marching on. As a newfound political right, I became one of the first colored jurors in the history of Bloomington. The trial was against local restaurateur Mr. H.M. Bateman, who decided to serve a glass of lemonade and some ice cream on a Sunday. Yeah, you find that strange, don't you? You see, there was a law passed at the time prohibiting commercial activities on a Sunday. This case inspired City Council to go to work and change the law so that stores could sell drinks, tobacco, ice cream from wagons on a Sunday. I continued in politics, and in March of 1879, I spoke at Mount Pisgah Baptist Church at the annual colored political mass meeting about uniting our people under one political party. You see, if black people were ever going to receive any help from Bloomington City Council, we must be united. Agreeing to stay under the Republican Party, the same as President Lincoln and Jesse Fell, my friends urged me to run for the alderman of the 3rd Ward. They said I'd be a shoo-in. So I put my best foot forward and entered the race. I believed in Republican values, but I stood on a broad platform. Irrespective of party, I just wanted the votes of all good people. That angered some of my friends. They called me a traitor to my party. I still campaign hard, and yes, if you remember from earlier, this is where I lost my shoe. Never did find it. I also lost the election. And would you believe it would be 100 years before Bloomington City Council would elect a person of color? Her name was Eva Jones. After the election, I was given a political appointment by winning Republican Mayor Elijah B. Steer. In addition, I was made a mail carrier for the city of Bloomington, and I kept busy with my barber business. My barber shop, Blue and Hill. Fashionable barbers and hairdressers served the white residents of the area. It was one of the many brick buildings located on Main and Front Street. What an extraordinary life I've lived. But most importantly, I was a family man. Reverend J. McLean was present when I married my love, Letitia Cooper, in 1870. Our legacy lives on through our children. We had 6, 3 of whom lived to adulthood. All 3 were a blessing. And my daughter, Belle Blue Claxton, she helped with Miller Park's segregated beaches in terms of their amenities, such as swimming areas, bathrooms, and quality of sand. She even worked with the local NAACP. Yes, she did. Daddy's proud of you, baby. Yep, I guess the political activism shoe fit. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Glory, glory, hallelujah. His truth keeps marching on.
A loyal Republican, successful businessman, and tireless advocate for civil rights, Blue was one of Bloomington's most respected citizens. Even though he lost his race for alderman, he was serenaded by a band at his residence that night. Quote, the only one of those who got left on that memorable day who was treated to moonlight music by the band, and he feels highly honored in its reception. End quote.